This is the Bay and Tepe Perspective. I'm Brian Bay.
And I'm Greg Tepe. Welcome to our podcast.
And this week's perspective is on nerding out.
Yes, we're getting our nerd on. So basically, yesterday was May the 4th be with you. Yesterday being from when we're recording right now. And we decided, we'd known each other for a long time, and it started off as a base of sports and like the typical quote-unquote the cool stuff.
The bro stuff.
Yeah. And as we got to know each other, we realized that we're both nerds.
Yep.
And I think most of us all are. Embrace your inner nerddom. And I guess to kick it off with yesterday being the May the 4th, let's start with, I guess, one of my favorite nerd things, if you will, and that's Star Wars. I fell in love with it when I was a kid, obviously, and they would have the original trilogy came out like before we were born / when we were babies.
Yeah.
And then they decided to redo them, get all fancy with the new digital stuff of the late 90s.
Yeah.
And they re-released the originals in the theaters with some added stuff and cleaned up scenes. That's when I really fell in love with it. Because I remember being like junior high, and me and my friends would go, because it came out every 2 or 3 weeks, so we were able to boom, boom, boom. And I was like, man, for a reason it captured me.
Yeah.
Again, because I think we all have like that fantasy world, that sci-fi, that nerdy, whatever you want to call it, escape from
reality,
real stuff. Yeah. And then obviously, they came out with the prequel. Well, maybe you don't know. We'll get into that in a second. They came out with the prequels to the original trilogy in like the early 2000s, because I was in college when that happened. Because I remember the last one of that came out as I was finishing UC. And then fast forward, I don't know, like another 10 or so years, 15 years, when Disney basically bought Star Wars, they came out with a trilogy that's post the original trilogy. So before I continue on with the nerdom of that, have you seen any, or I don't think you've seen all of them.
I've seen none of them.
None of them.
None
okay.
of them. I've maybe seen bits and pieces of some.
Yeah.
Now I will say I've seen Spaceballs.
Yes.
Which in an ironic kind of goofy way gives you an idea of what's going on. Not truly, but it's,
Have you ever seen the Family Guy version of Star
I've seen
Wars?
Family Guy.
So you get a general version of
so,
that
yeah,
too.
I think you get like a general, I get
that.
I get some generalities of it. Plus, I mean, over time, it's a super popular movie or series of movies or whatever, collection of movies.
It's a pop culture.
Yeah, you're going to learn some stuff about it. But no, to say I've actually seen one from start to finish, I don't think I've seen any of them.
Okay.
Start to finish. If I've seen any of them, the ones I've probably seen the most of would have been the 90s ones, I guess.
Okay. I guess the original ones that they redid?
I guess. I don't know. Is it just like remastering it, or how
they remastered it?
Oh, that's
added
all.
a couple scenes.
Oh, so they did add some stuff.
Very minimal,
okay.
but yeah.
Okay. So, because I don't know enough to where some people were like, I thought some people bashed the remakes. Some true diehards, whatever.
They do, because the true diehards hate that they even touched it. Like they want the original to be the way it is. And then there's a subclass of the diehards, so they're not as diehard. And I'm thinking might be the ones you are familiar with. They bash the prequels. So they have the prequels where like could have been done better. There's some poor character choices,
which I get just knowing movies in general. Sometimes I'm like, that's dumb how
Why'd
you
you
did
touch
that, or it's not. Yeah, it's not the way it was done when I was watching it.
Basically, if you ever saw the bits and pieces of the ones you saw and there's Darth Vader was in it, it's probably the original 3.
Okay.
He has appearances in, so basically actually in the third prequel, so like basically it's 3 sets of trilogies minus there's some one-offs I'll get to later, but the main 9 movies are 3 trilogies, and the trilogy that's supposed to take place before the original one that came out in the 2000s, the last one of that one shows when Anakin Skywalker becomes Darth Vader. So you see a glimpse of Darth Vader at the very end of episode 3, if you will. Man, I sound like a nerd.
Hey, no, you know your stuff. So basically, if I were to watch them, your suggestion would be: do I watch the 70s ones, then watch the 90s ones, like the remake, even though it's like the same movie but new scenes? Or
well, you can't get a hold of the original 70s ones, if you will,
unless somebody owns them.
Right, they have to own them. Okay. So basically, but you are also kind of right where I still suggest watching those 3 first. So if you want to call them 70s/90s,
Yeah.
that storyline is one I suggest you watch first. I know a lot of diehard fans recommend you watch it first, but chronologically, as far as the storytelling, it's out of order.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how the Marvel movies go.
Right. It's like
know.
that. It's like that.
Yeah, because they do prequels and sequels and blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, see, I like to watch it in the order that it's released, at least originally through.
Yes.
You know, the first few times through of any type of series like that, I want to watch it how it was released into theaters.
How the people really got it.
Yeah, how they want it to be written. But then sometimes if I've watched it a ton of times, I'll play with it, watching it chronologically or whatever.
Yeah, and try different orders.
Yeah,
I know Antoine never seen the Star Wars either back, like, at this rate, probably 4 or 5 years ago when we used to work together. And I let him borrow. There's a certain, I think it's the prequels he didn't have access to for whatever reason, so I let him borrow those. Or maybe it was all of them, I can't remember now. But he's the type, he wanted to watch it in sequential/chronological order. He didn't want to watch it in the order you would want to watch it.
Yeah, like the year released.
Right, the way I recommend it.
Yeah.
Because the other thing I will say, if I didn't already hit it, is the 70s/90s one, those 3 are arguably the best ones regardless. Even though the graphics aren't as good as the computerized ones of these days, the stories just, there's something about those 3 stories that really hit the Star Wars lore.
Now, any idea of why I can't get a hold of the 70s ones? Is that Disney just not going to have them on?
That's beyond my
You don't know,
nerdom,
basically.
but
Okay.
I do know it's something that's basically like almost like a vault thing that happened pre-Disney. It's not even a Disney thing. It's
So it's what's his name that
George
made
Lucas.
Lucas
Yeah.
vaulted it.
Now you say that, I believe one of the guys I used to work with, I might as well shout his name, even though I doubt he's listening to this, Kyle, that I used to work with. Kyle, if you're listening, you know you are, because you're the biggest Star Wars nerd I know. And he was educating me on that, about how, like, it's like basically like finding gold for Star Wars nerds. If you can find the one the original way. And now you say that, I believe it was George Lucas that's like, nope, done.
So he vaulted it and for whatever reason. And
Right.
okay, so basically the way I'd be able to watch them at all would be the 90s. Yeah.
Which would be good enough. You won't know any, like, to me, it's good enough for me too. I don't even know. I don't know if I've seen the original, like, before they added their stuff to it. I don't know.
So you might have started with the 90s
right
remakes, if you will.
And if anything, I might have seen the bits and pieces like you have now. Since I was a kid when I might have seen it on
because I'm
TV.
pretty sure like one of my stepdads had them, or they were on TV, or back before he vaulted them, or whatever.
Right.
They were more accessible, or whatever.
I mean, but it's a super. I mean, even you not knowing, like, seeing the movie and stuff, you know, it's a huge. It's almost like any other.
It's just a cult following.
Yeah, like,
and I would like to watch them. I don't know.
Probably right mood. I'm sure it's part
Right
of
mood,
it.
and I think I just want to watch them because like everybody else has watched them. I guess,
recommend
but, like,
it, even if you say I hate it.
But I am
That's fair.
into that type of stuff. Like now, mine was always more Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
I was more. I don't want to say I'm a Trekkie, if you will.
He's
because,
a Trekkie.
Oh, because that's disrespecting Trekkies.
I feel you.
Because I don't know that details. Yeah, I'm not getting involved in that debate.
Well,
I'll
before
get
you
eaten alive.
I will say I'm not one of the Star Wars either. Before I get eaten alive, I'm gonna put that out there real quick. I just really enjoy it, but
yeah, for me, Star Trek, it was all about the next generation. Picard.
Yeah,
Picard was my guy. And I want to see his new show, the Picard.
I heard that was good.
Yeah,
and I'm not a Star. I don't care for Star Trek,
but I've always I didn't watch it like die-heartedly where I'm like, and I'll admit that I'm the Picard because that's what I watched.
Yeah,
I never really watched the other
Shatner,
the Shatner one. Yeah, whatever.
I don't know if I have either. Like
I've seen it here and there,
right?
But I never really watched that one. It was just when I was watching it as a kid. One of my stepdads was watching the Next Generation one, and I'd catch it periodically.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, I was like, I caught it on TV, marathon on whatever, WGN or some such. TBS,
right.
One of them, they throw them Saturday marathons or whatever, and I'm like breaking off watching hours of it. I'm like, hey, I kind of like this
You get
stuff.
sucked in, and yeah.
Yeah. When it also had like the Reading Rainbow dude was in it.
Yes. Yeah.
The glasses. I always wanted those glasses.
Yeah. I don't even know what his name was, but I know. Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
holy crap, he does Reading Rainbow, and he's on the Enterprise.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. I was always kind of into that, but I wouldn't say I'm a Trekkie because I don't know all the details. But like, I just thought it was super cool where they'd beam you down and they got some worlds involved into it.
Yeah, it's almost like a political version. It seemed like, from what I remember. I mean, I didn't follow it, but it seems like they dealt with like how they had relations with planets and stuff, I'm guessing.
Yeah, yeah. There was more, and then there was other ships they'd run into, and either they were going to war with them, or they were being cool about it, or whatever.
Right. I think it's cool. I think I can see me giving it a shot now.
Yeah.
I did see one of the new Star Trek movies. I don't remember which one. I feel like it was the first one when they decided to redo those. Excellent.
I haven't watched any of the movies. Literally, my nerdom there is like The Next Generation.
Yeah, you're like, Next Generation. I'm sticking with that.
And that's the one I've always watched. Yeah, I haven't been so deep into it.
Right.
But then, my cult following, I love the Marvel movies. I love superhero movies in general.
Yeah. That's another good quote-unquote nerd one that I need to get into.
Yeah.
I dropped the ball huge on it to the point where so many came out that I was like, I'm not even trying. Not meaning I never will.
You got so far behind.
I'm just far.
Well, if you're going to catch up, do it soon, because I just saw where they're supposed to release like 10 new ones coming out soon. So
yeah, well, now that I don't have an excuse because we have I have Disney Plus access that I should. Now you say that, maybe I'll try to get myself in the mood to do that.
Yeah,
I do want to, and I have seen some Punishers, or I have seen some Marvel stuff, aka the Punisher. Was what I say.
Like some Punisher.
It was excellent on Netflix. Excellent show. I loved that show.
Yeah,
I do. I think the superhero thing is cool though. Just like I said, I think when it start really gaining ground, it's when I wasn't really embracing that kind of stuff for whatever reason.
I mean, it's been going on for 2 decades now, basically. So it's been a while.
Yeah,
and especially if you splash in some of the other superheroes like Spider-Man.
Right.
Before he was like Marvel-ish, and like
I did see those.
so yeah, so the old school Spider-Man's like the 90s,
like Tobey Maguire.
Yeah,
I seen those
Tobey Maguire ones, and I mean, and then, like you said, we've talked about the Batman ones before, but so you go through, Batman Returns and all that.
Right.
I'm always saddened that there's never a good Superman movie. There's never really had, like, Superman Returns actually wasn't too bad,
and it's
not great.
It's funny that you say that. That's the reason why I'm not really into Superman. I know is he from like Krypton or something?
I think Superman is just, it's best being a comic book.
It seems like the one that's, you can
It's
tell
hard.
it's an old one.
It's been hard for them to do. Like, I get like in the 90s because he's flying.
Yeah.
So before special effects were super great, it's hard to capture someone flying.
Yeah, and that was dope.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know. I just feel like none of them have been really written all that well.
Isn't he like one of the first superheroes in this country? So like technically, even when he first was thought of back in like I'll look it up, but I feel like it's like in the 30s, like even more so. Flying is like, man, this guy's flying. He has super strength.
Yeah, he's got. That's a lot of it too. I think a lot of his being one of the originals, if not the original, he's almost dated.
Yes, that's
it's like
that's how I look at him.
And the problem is, like, his superpowers, if you will, have been almost given to other characters now.
Right.
Like, maybe not, like, other, like, Marvel's taking him from, I think he's DC, I believe.
Yeah, I do know that.
Okay.
Now I also confident. Batman, I know, is DC.
Yeah.
I think Superman's also DC.
Yeah, so it's like, his superpowers, if you have been ripped off, for the lack of better terms or whatever.
Correct.
Where.
And made cooler, even.
And made cooler, that's the thing. Like. He's just a dude in a cape that can fly around and take bullets and shit.
And wears his underwear outside of his pants for some reason.
Yeah.
Actually, so he was created in June 1938.
So super old.
Yes, and DC Comics. So, I mean, think about it. 30s, and there's this dude that's from outer space.
Yeah.
That can fly. He's super strong. And that's probably also explains why his colors are basically American flag colors.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's almost like old school. I don't want to say Captain America because he's like Mr. America. He's Mr. USA. He's our grandfather's superhero.
And maybe he's even like the DC Captain America.
Yeah, he's our grandfather's or great grandfather's like superhero. He's almost like G.I. Joe when they made G.I. Joe, where it's G.I. Joe was, from what I understand, was a ploy to get people to join the army.
I heard that before.
I've always heard that G.I. Joe was like to get kids into wanting to be in the army.
Didn't work for me because I
didn't
even watch the show.
I mean, I watched it. I loved G.I. Joe, but I did not join the army.
Yeah, I know that.
No, I did not do that. But no, I mean, I enjoyed G.I. Joe when I was a kid, at least the cartoons. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I've really watched any of those movies.
I forgot they even made movies.
Yeah, I don't think I've watched.
Never gotten to that we talk about it. Like,
what'd you watch as kids? Like what?
So, like, I was huge into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's the biggest thing.
Yes.
Pre-Ninja Turtles was He-Man and Ghostbusters.
I liked He-Man. I like Ghostbusters. Yeah, I used to have a He-Man book, which made me like He-Man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I might still have that somewhere.
I had a plastic sword of his.
Oh yeah, and He-Man I always heard they were supposed to do a movie of, and
Same here.
it never landed.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
Like a remake, because I think they did a movie back in the day and it flopped.
They did, because I saw it as a kid in the theaters.
Oh, okay.
Because I was obsessed with He-Man, so to me it did not flop.
Yeah.
Because that might have been the first movie I've ever seen. Like, I feel like when I hear stories from family that was like basically the first or one of the first movies I went to see because I was obsessed
like as
with
a theater.
He-Man.
Yeah.
Yes. Post Ninja Turtles was my big. It was the
that was my biggest one.
Yeah, same here. Post Ninja Turtles, I did get into Marvel a little bit with the X-Men cartoon and Spider-Man cartoon.
So I forgot about X-Men. I was never huge into X-Men.
Oh, okay.
I did not like it, but I never was super into it. Paul, my friend growing up, was a big X-Men guy.
Okay.
And always tried to get me into it. And I was like, I like Batman.
Okay.
You know, I was like,
I did watch Batman as along with Ninja Turtles.
But I also like the Batman animated series.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Remember like Blue Batman?
Yes.
You know, like all those. Yeah, I watched a lot of that too, like cartoon-wise.
Yeah, that's what I watched.
I liked California Raisins.
Yeah.
You know, I liked all the cheesy shit that only lasted for like 3 seasons, it seemed like. You know,
well, for a while there, you were the death of TV shows.
Yeah, I was, dude. Every show I watched that was a new, like, it lasted a season or 2.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't announce that it was going to just be gone. And I'm like, where the hell did the show go?
Yeah, whatever happened to it?
Yeah, and like a lot of shows like that. I'm like, what happened? That's why I gave up. That's when I gave up, started just watching series that were finished already on Netflix or
Safer
whatever.
that way.
But yeah, no, I mean, growing up, I never remember the Ninja Turtles cartoon.
Oh, yes. I love
like,
that.
Like, I've never seen this in, like, the Turtles movies at all, but they had that dude that was a brain.
Yeah.
That was inside of a fucking machine.
His name was like Krang or something like that.
Yeah.
Something weird, yes.
I want to learn the storyline behind that. If anybody knows, shout that out on our Twitter.
Because I definitely don't remember if they did tell us.
That
no
might have been
idea.
a cartoon exclusive thing. I don't know.
I remember he was Shredder's boss, basically.
Yeah.
Because, like, I remember in the cartoon, Shredder was kind of a buffoon, but not as bad as Rocksteady and
Bebop.
Bebop, thank you. But the brain, he was
like the head boss,
yeah,
right?
He's
and
like
then
the
you had
big
Shredder,
boss.
and then you had them two. Where like in the movies they cut the brain dude out.
They probably didn't know how to do it back then. I don't know.
I don't know where he came from. I don't know if he was a cartoon thing. I'm sure he came from a comic book. I'm imagining.
Yeah, I don't.
Because I mean, but Turtles really wasn't a comic book first. I think they were. Weren't they the movies first?
I can't remember.
I read this backstory behind it, and I don't.
Me too.
You know?
I can't remember. I feel like they were not a movie or cartoon first. I feel like they were like some random, like almost like a sarcastic idea. I've seen it somewhere.
See if you can Google it and see if you can
I've seen it somewhere, but
see
like
if Wikipedia comes through on us.
So real quick to compare the cartoon version of Ninja Turtles when you said that. So compared to the Star Wars universe, the brain is like the Emperor Palpatine in Star Wars. He's like the super strong, like wise one.
Yeah.
And then Shredder's like Darth Vader, who's like he's
the
so
badass.
powerful. Yeah,
he's powerful, but he's more the Billy Badass kind of dude.
And then Bebop and Rocksteady are kind of like the stormtroopers, if you will.
Yeah.
So we're looking for the backstory of Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, like where it came from. I don't know, but I watched like all that stuff. What else? Oh, remember what the hell? Inspector Gadget.
Yes,
that was lit, dude. That cartoon, the claw.
Well, and he had such cool gadgets on that too. That's again, fast forward to 2021, it's like,
Yeah, but his car was badass.
Yeah, it was.
It would transform from like a minivan type car to a fucking sports car, basically.
And I think I remember it had like a propeller sometimes for a helicopter.
Yeah, go copter.
Now, didn't he have like a pet that solved most of the crimes, and he just
I forget what pet it
through?
was, but yeah, his pet would like stumble into it, and he was like the buffoon, if you will.
Okay,
they got the credit, but really it was like his sidekick that actually. There was a lot of that going on in the 90s where the sidekicks were the actual hero, but the other guy would get the credit for whatever reason.
Yeah, that was like the big thing.
One thing I'm glad Disney Plus brought back was the old cartoons like Tailspin.
Oh, I loved that.
Darkwing Duck. That was my superhero of choice, Darkwing Duck. Dude.
Yeah, I forgot about Darkwing Duck.
Gargoyles.
Yes, Gargoyles.
Loved all that stuff, man. Them 90s cartoons are the shit.
So here's what I found on the Ninja Turtles history on Wikipedia. That's the source I'm using.
Okay.
And I was going to read a little bit here real quick. It says that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles first appeared in an American comic book published by Mirage Studios in 1984.
Oh, so it was a comic book. Okay.
In Dover, New Hampshire. The concept arose from a humorous drawing sketch out by Eastman during a casual evening of brainstorming and bad television with Laird. So that's where I kind of was thinking of the, I was like sarcastic.
Yeah.
They said using money from a tax refund, together with a loan from Eastman's uncle, the young artist self-published a single-issue comic intended to parody four of the most popular comics of the early 1980s. I did not know that part. So they're doing a parody of Marvel Comics' Daredevil and New Mutants, Dave Sims' Cerebus, never heard of it, and Frank Miller's Ronin. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic book series has been published in various incarnations by various comic book companies since 1984. So it started as a one-issue comic book, and it almost sounded like they didn't
like a troll, basically.
It was like they were drinking one night, and they're like, "Hey, man, let's have these like mutant turtles that love pizza, and they fight bad guys."
Teenagers, and
they're teenagers.
Man, I love that shit though.
Cowabunga.
That Michelangelo was my favorite.
Was he?
Yeah. Who was yours? Did you have a
Leonardo?
Okay.
And a lot of it was because of the color blue.
Yeah. See, mine was orange. I like orange.
Oh, that makes sense.
But his personality ended up being closest to mine. Kind of like a party guy.
Yeah, he was.
Loved the pizza. Just kind of goofy and funny, and was always there for you in the end, but kind of goof off.
Now, if I had to redo it, I almost think I'd choose like a Raphael, because he was the badass, but he had an attitude problem. Because even remember in the movies, he kind of got mad and he wandered off.
Yeah. So I see you as a Donatello, the nerdy dude.
You see me as a Donatello?
Yeah.
Actually, the funny thing is, my brother Mark was a Donatello.
Really?
Mark.
Yeah. See, he doesn't seem like that.
John was Michelangelo. I was Leonardo. And then Raphael's kind of just there.
Mark reminds me of that hockey player that was in it. Casey Jones.
Casey Jones. I can see that now.
He reminds me of Casey Jones, like that, just rogue, like on the team but not on the team.
Right.
Like I remember when he came into the movies, that was badass.
Yes, I was about to bring up the movie. I need to rewatch the movies, especially the first two.
I have the box set on DVD.
Hook up that DVD player.
I need to hook up my DVD player actually and just watch some of the stuff I have.
All right, well, the podcast is over. We're going to go watch the Turtles.
We're going to watch the Turtles. Yep.
Remember the Ninja Turtles 3, though, the movie?
Where it was so weird. They went back to Japan or China or whatever it was.
I think it was Japan because it was samurai.
Oh, samurai, yeah.
Yeah. And they went back in time.
Yeah,
too.
it was back. Yeah, it was old. Old, yeah.
But
they started in that, like, almost the layer that looked like their cartoon layer.
Mm-hmm.
But then they had, like, that train or something that was subway train that was like abandoned or something, and they went into that, and somehow they found the time travel thingy.
Yes, I forgot.
Yeah, they somehow found the time travel thing and went back, and it was real different.
Yeah, it definitely didn't follow the first two.
No, and they went and found like it was Splinter, but it was his master. Like so, Splinter was like a regular rat then, or whatever. It was like a regular rat in that movie,
right?
At least in the back in the time thing, I think.
Right.
It was just different. Yeah, they were just stretching. I think they were stretching the series, but I liked it.
I did too.
And I like it on its own even. Like I'll watch just number 3 sometimes. Usually when I watch them now, I watch all 3 in order.
Yeah.
But I can watch just number 3 on its own. It's just different.
It's standalone.
Yeah, it's a standalone. It's different. Because 1 and 2 really tied it together.
Remember how cool it was when the first one came out? Because me and you, we're at the age where we're so used to seeing them as a cartoon. Yeah. And then we saw, like,
my God, yeah.
I'm like, this is badass. And then, do you remember when they made appearances at the department stores all around here?
Yeah.
And you get your picture taken with them?
Yeah, because it was like the legit costumes and shit. Those costumes were just nice as hell.
Yeah, they were.
Like, they were legit.
Yeah, that was my big thing, like,
because that's what they had to do for special effects back then. There wasn't the computer animation like it was, like you can do now.
Right. Well, that's why. Let's circle back to the Star Wars, the original one. So what they did was the spaceships and everything and all that stuff. It was models, and they forever, hours and hours, did recordings of the spaceships flying through.
Yeah.
It was state of the art technology back then.
Yeah.
But then I think that's why a lot of Star Wars nerds are one of the reasons I should say they're so in love with it. Is nostalgia of how the old special effects were, where now we're spitting Star Wars movies out, and you can use computerization. It looks cool, but it takes away something from
the skill set of it.
Right.
No, I'm the same way because I always liked certain '90s special effects better.
Even though it's cheesy.
Yeah,
Almost like Twister. Remember that movie?
Mm-hmm.
Like the tornadoes were cheesy.
Yeah.
The story was cheesy even. Like how do they always end up where a tornado is going to hit?
Yeah, but some of
But
it
I
wasn't.
love it.
Some of it wasn't cheesy though because it was like real.
Yeah.
Like yes, the car didn't really flip in like the action movies, but like it did because they had to
I see
flip
what you're
it.
saying. Yeah, the
It
actual
was a real
effects was
car.
real, yeah.
It wasn't like
stuntmen and
yeah, it wasn't a computer. It was an actual car flipping.
Yes.
You know, and they had to try to get it in one take if they could.
Right.
So it was like it was actual cars doing
Or
it.
real explosions or
Yeah, real explosions like
Yeah.
confined explosions, but like explosions. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It
So-
still it still took skill, but it was still
Now explosions are just a computer.
Yeah, you can add stuff with computers.
And I remember when like the first computer ones came out, they were real bad.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
the first couple Blu-rays.
Yeah,
Like my first Blu-ray I ever got was one of the Die Hard, one of the newer Die Hards
Okay.
that was made when Blu-rays first came out.
Right.
I forget the whole title of it. It was and it was real bad. Like there was a bridge scene where you could tell it went really computer anime.
Right.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, it's so fake.
Right. You're like,
I was like, yeah, I'm like,
stop.
yeah, I'm like, oh, you just got me out of the movie because it was so fake.
But I'm sure at the time it was probably like when the creators were like, look at this, we can do this.
Yeah.
But speaking of that, Jurassic Park, they had another one that had great.
Oh yeah,
special effects.
I love Jurassic Park.
Same
yeah.
here. Yeah, which I guess another nerd thing of mine. I don't know if I ever told you this actually, because there's no reason to talk about it until now. I used to be obsessed with dinosaurs.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
I
So
feel
Jurassic
like
Park-
maybe you mentioned that before.
Okay. Jurassic Park was right up my alley.
Yeah.
It was to a point where I heard stories, now that I'm an adult, that apparently when I was in kindergarten, the teacher had to talk to my parents and ask if basically there's something wrong with me because all
really?
I ever drew was dinosaurs.
I did not know that.
That's all I did
hilarious.
was draw dinosaurs. Like,
what a weirdo.
no.
I'm surprised you're not a what you call archaeologist or whatever you call them.
I used to know. That's how far removed.
You know what I'm talking about, the dinosaur
like
people.
a paleontologist.
Paleontologist, yeah.
I wanted to be when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I even had a dinosaur like kid encyclopedia, and
Yeah.
I could pronounce all those hard dinosaur names back then.
Oh, that's wild.
And then all of a sudden, at some point, I shifted to like sports. So as you know, one of my hidden talents is I can tell you every Super Bowl winner, matchup, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I used to be like that with dinosaurs.
Usually, Brachiosaurus and
Right,
all that, yeah.
Triceratops, Tyrannosaurus Rex, Velociraptor, Stegosaurus, blah blah blah. I keep
Yeah.
going. So that's yes, because nerddom technically also includes like math and science, astronomy.
Yeah.
So like I was big into science in general, anyways. But dinosaurs, like for whatever reason, I don't know how as a kid, I was a young kid, I got hooked to dinosaurs. I used to watch this. I remember my dad used to tell the story that there was this cassette I had with I think the kid from Wonder Years was on it. Random. Yeah, he was. He was on it, and it was all about different dinosaur stories, and I watched that every day.
Yeah.
My dad's like, I hate this thing.
So did you like the Dinosaurs 90s show?
I did.
That's on Disney Plus now.
Oh, is it?
It is.
I need to check that out, too.
So I did like that. I did have a dinosaurs book, I remember. It was one of them real thin. Oh, man, I had a bunch of them. And there was like a series of books that had like stuff like that. Like it was like 20 pages and it was like different levels of grades for you to learn stuff.
Right.
They're real thin, like a paperback, but it's a real glossy kind of paperback.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, because I probably checked it out of the library many times.
Oh, I'm sure. Those are the ones I got at this classic book fairs.
Oh, yes. I used to love
So I was
those.
just-
Another
yeah.
nerd thing.
That's where I had all those books, and I remember I had like a Jackie Robinson one. That's where I learned about him.
right.
And then I had a dinosaurs one. I remember. So I was kind of into dinosaurs, but not clearly as much as you were.
Well, I was a little obsessive, it sounds like.
Yeah, but no, I did enjoy them, and I love Jurassic Park movies. Those were
Yeah, the Jurassic Park movies
badass.
are great, though. Even the new ones they did when they decided to
Like
do
Jurassic
Lost
World
or
and-
whatever. Yeah, those are good. But since you brought it up, I forgot about Scholastic Book Fairs.
Oh man,
I just get so excited for that.
Yep.
And that's how I got hooked to Goosebumps. I read Goosebumps religiously.
I had all the Goosebumps
Yes.
books, dude. I don't know what happened to all those. I don't know what happened to half my stuff. I feel like I
Yeah.
maybe donated them or whatever, but I used to have like literally every Goosebumps books because like my aunt worked at Walden Books.
Oh, I used to beg to go to Walden Books to get the new Goosebumps.
Yeah, so she'd get it for me for my birthday or
Nice.
Christmas or what, so I had I had so many where I didn't even read them all.
Same here. At first, I was really good at reading them all.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where, as losing interest.
Yeah.
But I still got. I was like, I need.
Yeah, I
to
was
get
still
it.
getting him his gifts. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
still getting like the gifts. And I was like, I haven't read these in like 5 books now.
Right.
You know, where I think my mom eventually said something like, "Hey, I don't think he reads those anymore.
Yeah, you can stop.
You can stop buying books."
Yeah.
Like,
And they came out with a TV show for a little bit as I was ending
I do
my
remember that.
Goosebumps. Yep.
I do remember that.
But that was a good one. I liked that one. But the reason I got hooked to that was because of the Scholastic Book Fair.
Yeah.
And with that, you feel like you had to get something. And I'm like, oh. And this is going to sound crazy. I still remember the very first Goosebumps book I got that got me hooked. It was like the 4th or 5th in the whole series. It was called Say Cheese or Die. I can still
Really?
picture it. Yeah.
I don't
It had like
remember
these
that one.
skeletons doing a cookout or something.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I want that. I don't know why I chose that. I don't know if someone else in my class haven't. I don't know. That's why I picked though. And from that point on, for I say a few years, because they start coming out with new issues, or new books once
Yeah.
a month. And I remember begging to go to Walden Books. And then they opened Media Play.
Oh, I loved Media Play.
And I started going there for that. And then the transition happened.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, can I go to Media Play to get CD? And
Yeah.
that's the whole different
Different
avenue.
era, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Um,
No, I love those. Yeah, those books were good.
yeah. But, and that's why I've read most of the time. Like, I enjoyed reading. I gotten back to enjoying reading, as you know.
Yeah.
Which-
Remember, like, are you scared of the dark or whatever? Are you afraid
Yes.
of the dark? Whatever the hell it was called.
I think it's the second one you said. Are you
Are you afraid of the dark?
'cause
Yeah.
John used to be scared of that.
Oh, so creepy. I remember I'd go to my friend's house because it was on like every Thursday or every Friday, whatever. There was like a new episode weekly.
Yes.
And I remember that we'd go, and it just when it got dark because it was like 8 o'clock.
Yeah. So
We-
late.
Oh yeah, I remember watching in the living room with him every week, like
Yep.
in the dark, just sitting there like freaking out, like, oh shit. And he was one of them kids that were like, he tried to work me up. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
He's one of those ones that I don't think he bought into it as much as I did for being scared, so he tried to work me up. That was like his enjoyment.
Right. He's like,
Yeah.
you're the entertainment, and the entertainment for you was the show.
Yeah, like 'cause I was kind of freaked out about it, and he knew I was freaked out about it, so he was like, I'm going to freak this kid out more about it.
Right.
You know, one of those scenarios.
I had a friend like that when since it was Unsolved Mysteries when we were real young.
yeah.
He'd get me all like, tell me all this stuff, and I believe. I mean, I guess that's more real than Are You Afraid of the Dark? But it was the point where I thought it was like always in our neighborhood or something. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's here, and then realized.
Yeah, because
no,
when I
it's
was
like
younger, I'd get
California
creeped out
or
there
something.
like, there's a house burglar, and I'm like all night thinking someone's going to break into our house.
Yes.
You know, I'm like, I don't want to have the window open. I got to lock it. What are we doing?
And you also like it's right here. He's also the same friend that got me hooked to Indiana Jones. A whole different.
Oh, man. You know, I never fully got, I liked those, but I never fully got into that either.
Really?
Yeah.
That really
I
surprises
like them.
me.
Don't get me, I have no negative thing to say. I just
Yeah.
never really watched them all the way through.
That surprises me because I felt like everyone our age did. But,
Yeah,
okay.
no.
That's one I would say you should watch as well.
I think as I get older, I can respect that one more and watch it.
it's another pop
And I can't say I've
culture.
never watched it. I feel like I've watched the first one or something, but I haven't
I'm
watched,
sure you've seen that one.
I haven't watched like the whole series of them.
I will say I've never seen the newest one that came out like 10 years ago. That came out way after the last Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Because I heard it was bad. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to watch it then.
But no, I mean, I'm in, like, as I gotten older, I think I've gotten more into the nerdy stuff. You know,
I can see that.
if you will. Like, I've gotten more, embraced it more, if you will, where I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll watch it. Like, one of my nerdy things, I guess you could say, is wrestling.
Yeah.
I was always into that through the 90s, through the Attitude Era, and then just post that. I would say early 2000s when I stopped watching.
Yeah.
But even as a kid, I watched the hell out of it, man. I loved that shit. It was like the cartoony-ish ones. I don't know what era they call that one, but like they all had characters.
Is that the one from probably when I watched?
Probably.
Real
You had
young,
like Big
Hulk
Boss
Hogan
Man
and stuff.
Hulk Hogan, Big Boss Man, Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, I remember them. And
Yeah, they were all like-
twins in one of them or something, and Smash Brothers maybe or something. I don't know. I'm talking
No
about way
idea what the
out
hell you're
there.
talking about. Yeah, Smash Brothers I've never heard of. They had like the Bushwhackers.
Them. That's what I was
Okay.
thinking of.
Smash
Yeah.
Brothers, yeah.
See, I don't know. Wrestling was not my thing.
Yeah,
You know
Legion
that.
of Doom, all that stuff, man. Yeah, I loved watching the 90s ones, but then and some of them were timeless that transitioned.
Yeah.
You know, like Undertaker was like one of the last great characters
Yeah.
that they made that lasted, 30 years. You know what I'm saying? He just retired.
Okay. Did he? Is he still alive?
Yes, he's alive.
Okay.
Yes,
Wasn't it someone? Was it Macho Man that died?
Macho Man's died. A few of them have died.
Well,
but
yeah, I know
Macho
a
Man's,
few,
yeah.
but like as far as the ones I could probably think
Yeah,
of.
Macho Man's probably the one you're thinking of.
Yeah.
'Cause Undertaker like just retired like this year.
Ah. Okay.
Yeah, he actually does a podcast that's pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah, him and Stone Cold Steve Austin do separate podcasts, but they've gone on each other's, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, they do that. That's pretty cool.
Which is funny that you said Stone Cold made me think of one of my favorite actors, and not that I can recall ever seeing any of his wrestling, besides like the clips I've seen, is The Rock.
Oh, The Rock,
And he has that new show out, the sitcom, which I still think you would like. It's called Young Rock, about his life.
Yeah, which I need to watch.
And it incorporates a lot of the wrestling because his dad was a wrestler.
Yeah.
And it has like those wrestlers I heard of in it, like Andre the Giant and stuff. And it also talks about when he went to talks about when he's a kid, so he's around the wrestlers. When he's in high school, when his dad is basically a has-been, and then when he's in college, when he played for the U, which I forgot he played with Warren Sapp and Ray Lewis. That's why he didn't start. He lost his job to both of them.
Well, I mean, come on. Yeah.
Right. I'm like,
any other year though, he's a starter. Maybe goes to the NFL instead.
oh, he was highly sought after.
Yeah.
So I think it was his freshman year. I learned from the show, the sitcom, that he hurt his leg. So the first year he had to sit out because of an injury.
Yeah.
Then the next year they moved Warren Sapp from tight end to defensive line, so he
his
won the
spot.
starting job. And then Warren Sapp, I'm trying to remember the sequence of everything, but something happened where maybe Warren Sapp graduated a year earlier than him or something. It was to the point where, or maybe he was still there, but The Rock had a chance to make another spot on the team, and they showed him working out with freshman Ray Lewis.
Oh.
He's like, I can't win.
No, he got replaced. Yeah.
Right.
One great got replaced by another great, and he got snubbed in the middle.
Basically, and bad luck. But to get, I guess, more on the theme of this episode, on the wrestling aspect of it, it made me kind of like appreciate the wrestling.
Yeah, because I mean, I remember watching him. He went from Rocky Maivia, which was very a character.
I did not know.
Yeah, it was a real character. It was called the Nation of Domination.
Okay, this is all new to me.
Yeah, and it was almost like a spoof or whatever off of like the Black Power kind of, like that. Black Panthers maybe ish.
Yeah.
Kind of they're all, men of color, if you will, in that.
Yeah.
And then they were like that group, and then you had like the D-Generation X, which is your white people group, and you had different stuff like that.
Okay.
But he was almost like a Native American or almost like Samoan type character. Like they had him dressed in like some, like a get up, if you will. I don't know. I'm sure I'm disrespecting someone's culture because I don't know what it's called. But it was like a tribal-esque looking get up type thing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't going over because he was supposed to be a bad person in that.
I gotcha.
And then they were almost giving up on him as a character, and he's like, let me just do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And basically he had a longer leash, if you will, because of who his dad was.
Rocky Johnson.
Rocky Johnson. He probably would not have he may not have been who he is if, normally I think Vince McMahon would have cut him, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
He'd have been fired or let go, or they would have buried him on the B card, C card. He would have been nobody.
Yeah.
But he had enough respect, or his dad had enough respect for Rocky Johnson. He was like, let me just do what I want to do. Let me try it out. What's going to hurt?
Yeah.
If not, bury me and move on. Yeah. So he let him, and that's when The Rock came out, and he started being more,
Do you smell what The Rock is cooking?
Do you smell what The Rock is cooking? Yeah, and like went more the good guy end of it, and people loved him. That's,
Okay.
Long story short, basically is how he became that, was on his own. He's like, let me try it and see what I can do.
Well, it worked out because now look at him.
Yeah, because they weren't like embracing his personality. He has a huge
Right.
personality. So, I mean, he went from broke to
Yes.
one of the richest dudes in the world now.
You need to watch the show.
I know. It's funny. I mean, I want to see the show, but honestly, I probably know a lot of it.
You do, but it was just
Also,
cool.
yeah.
It was cool seeing it because everything not everything. The last part where like he came from broke and all that, like that's what the show focuses on.
Yeah, which I do want to watch it. I don't. What is it? What is it even on?
Tuesday nights.
What is it on?
Oh, NBC.
Oh, it's NBC.
So it should be on Peacock.
Okay.
Yeah, they advertise it's on Peacock.
Okay, so I'll look for it.
And the first season's over. Last night was the last episode of the first
Okay.
season. So,
But I'll watch it. But I just like all those wrestlers though. And like I said, I grew up, and they went from I forget what the era they called it, but the cartoony era
yeah.
to segue into the Attitude Era, which you still had some hangover characters, but then, that's when the Monday Night Wars happened and everything, when WCW came out.
Yeah, I remember.
And that was like
about that.
that was the best time of wrestling, man. Like, you didn't know which one to watch. Especially once Hulk Hogan went over, like some of the big names that we knew growing up went over to WCW.
Yeah.
But I'd been at the age where I kept with it, so I knew some of the new characters like The Rock and Stone Cold and the ones that took over and helped the greatness keep going.
Right. Continue the legacy.
Continue the legacy, because they pretty much said like Hulk Hogan was one of the characters, like that era is what saved wrestling because it was almost buried.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what saved wrestling, or at least to make it as big as it was. You know, because back in the day, wrestling was territorial.
Yes.
So you had your Midwest, you had your South, you had your East Coast, your West Coast, your
Yes.
Texas area, whatever. You know what I'm saying? You had all your different areas. Well, Vince McMahon took it nationally. He was the first one to take it.
That's how that happened.
Yeah, he's the first one to take it nationally. He had bigger aspirations. Vince McMahon's dad was who ran it first.
Right.
But he respected the territories more.
That explains the references they made in the Young Rock show.
Yeah.
Because, like, basically, the Rock's grandmother took over the family business from his grandfather when his grandfather passed away. So she ran it, and she did, like, the Hawaiian region.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
I learned something.
Yeah, so there was all these regions, and
okay.
Yeah, Vince McMahon had Vince McMahon Jr. because his dad was Vince McMahon too. Junior, the one that you know of now, is the one that took it nationally and wanted to.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, he was like, "I'm coming in your backyard. I don't give a shit."
Yeah, I'm gonna make this national.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that kept WCW alive though, because they're Southern, they were Atlanta, TBS based, TNT, Ted Turner.
Right.
So it kind of had some of the Southern folks that missed their regional stuff jumped on that wagon because. When it first came about, it wasn't that big. It was almost regional.
Right.
You know, and then as they grew, it became national as well.
Okay.
You know, but WCW, when it first came around, they just had a billionaire Ted to back them. So
yeah,
they had a lot of money.
Yeah.
So once they started getting, because when they first started, they only had like Sting was their big one. That was their guy. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I feel like I've heard of him, but
he is WCW's Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
He is there, dude. He was there. He's been from the beginning. He was the last one to come in the transition, too, when WWE bought him.
Yeah.
He was the last one to come. He wouldn't come. He didn't come with the beginnings.
Right.
When everybody was like, yes, I'll sign with you because I want a job. He was like hesitant. He's like, no, I don't want to be a part of your shit, basically.
Okay.
You know, so he was like their dude from start to finish.
He rode with them.
He rode with them, and he was their lovable good guy. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, you know, even when they tried to make him a bad guy, he wasn't. The fans still loved him, so it was like, no, you're not gonna turn him into a bad guy because we love that guy.
Right.
So, but I don't know, it amazes me. I know that it's like scripted, but it's like it was good scripting, to an extent, you know, and like.
Well, it's kind of funny that's why I used against it when I was in my I'm too cool for that stuff phase. Now is just the point. Like, I respect it. Put it that way. I'm not gonna get into like you, but
John Cena, who's one of the newer, most popular ones.
Yeah.
He had a good joke because he was doing an ESPYs, I think. He was a host of an ESPYs or something like that.
Because I know who you're talking about, and I feel like I know where you're. Like, I don't remember what the joke is. I'm sure you're about to tell us, but I feel like I remember. I'll probably hit a memory.
So basically, he was kind of comparing regular sports to wrestling. He was like, "Yeah, we have our scripts, but you do too." Mm-hmm. Because you got your guy you love, and he was talking about like Durant. He's like, we loved him, and then we needed someone to hate, so we hated him. And then and like same with LeBron, we loved him at first. He was the king, but then he went to Miami. You're like, what can we do to piss people off? Okay, let him go to Miami and build a super team.
Make him a villain.
Yeah, like he delivered it better than I am. But basically, he's like, you went from good to evil to good to evil, and because they were talking about like we hated LeBron, but then we liked him again. Because he went back to Cleveland, so we need someone else to hate. Who are we going to hate now? We hate Durant now.
Yeah.
Durant went to Golden State, so now we hate him for that.
Right.
You know, and it was like, he's like, so you guys act like we're the only ones that scripted things. He's like, that's kind of scripted too. And he's like, you got your evil commissioner. And I think he was talking about like Goodell for football. You know, like he's like, you got your evil commissioner and Goodell that, you know, so you're going to tell me, you know, that's our Vince McMahon. He was saying like,
right.
Goodell's
There's
your
parallels, basically.
Yeah, so he was like, it was good, it was true. It was funny because it was true. You know, it's like you have the parallels. It's like, storylines are still being told. It's not scripted NBA.
Yeah,
but there's still storylines that are almost scripted by media.
It's still a soap opera.
It's still a soap opera, yeah.
And that's for that reason, like I said, I held that over wrestling, even though now I think it's kind of what you were saying before about being more nerdy the older you get, or embracing it more, I should say, is that I respect that because it is a type of entertainment at the end of the day. And it still involves physical skill.
Yeah, there's a lot of skill to it. And it did get, like, I don't watch it now. I'm not into it anymore.
Yeah.
As much. I'm trying to get into it, but it's hard.
Yeah.
You know, because once you lose basis on the characters, it's hard to get back into the characters.
Well, that's probably part of it, too. You fall in love with the characters, if you will.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm interested in this character.
And then you get judgy because it's a different era now, and I'm like, well, I mean,
yeah. Like we do with everything else. Like
because it's more censored again. But it was like back in the day when it was more censored, I was a kid, so it was cool to be censored. I didn't give a shit. I was a kid.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as, but then like the Attitude Era, there was a lot more sexual and, risque type stuff, and then even post that at the beginning of 2000s, I was still good with it.
Yeah.
Because I still knew the characters. But then when I stopped watching it, like college age, early 20s, and then I tried to get back into it later, it was so different. And I didn't know any of the people really. And it was like,
where am I?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know who this is. Who's this guy? He's the champion or what? What's going on? And like, I don't know. I think it was all harder to keep track for me. And one thing I didn't like is that they did like there used to just be a one world champion, but then they added like a heavyweight champion. So I'm like, almost there's like 2 champions. And then they tried to do a unified type title. There were some watered down title things going on too.
Okay.
It
almost sounds like they're trying to be like boxing or something. Where like
and they've always had a lot of titles, but they just changed some of the names. I think that was my nostalgia saying that's dumb.
Yeah, that's probably what it is the nostalgia.
But I think back then you knew who the number 1 champion was the the world champion, the WWE. There was only one big title. Yeah, and then you had your littler titles, which I could differentiate more. But once you had like a WWE title and a world title, I'm like, well, which one's more important? Yeah. And that's where I was lost on.
I need priority here.
Yeah, like which one's the actual number 1 guy then?
Right.
So, just weird. But that was my rant about WWE, my nerd side there.
You let your nerd out big time.
Yeah. But
I learned some stuff from it. And I know we're getting towards the end here, but like a couple other things I just want to ask you about real quick. Like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, the other big nerd franchises.
Oh, yeah. I love Harry Potter. Like I've said in our last episode, I think it was, that I tried to watch it, and Peacock took it off after I got through like 3, so I still have 2 to go.
Right.
Lord of the Rings, I don't think I've watched all the way through either, but I love it.
Yeah, I haven't watched either one all the way through.
Yeah. Chronicles of Narnia is my big one.
Oh, I should.
I wish that wasn't Disney, though. I
forgot that was your big one.
I wish it was whoever made Lord of the Rings made that, because then it could be a little more grimy. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It could be more adultish, if you will.
Makes sense.
It's almost like a watered-down storyline. They could be more of an adult version of that, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I heard the books are amazing. Everybody always tells me, read the books. So I'm like, I'm not a book reader.
Yeah. Like, no, I'll pass.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'd rather watch a movie. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and I have seen the movie of that. I have not seen all the movies of the other franchises I mentioned.
Have you watched all the Narnia movies?
Probably not.
Yeah.
You're like, all of them? Like, I thought there's one.
No, there's like 3.
Well, I guess not.
So you watched the first one?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. That's probably the one you watched.
I'm sure it was. Yeah, okay.
You didn't know there were more. That's funny.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay. You're all proud of yourself. Like, I've watched that one. Well, have you watched all of them?
All of them? Like, what do you mean all of them? It's kind of like...
There's more than one.
I should have known better. Mm-hmm. Speaking of, like, the sci-fi thing I just thought of, too, a random one that has a big cult following that I didn't even know. I never even heard of it until I watched it. And ironically, remember, so back when I dated Natalie...
Yep.
Her and her mom got me hooked to a show that was only on for 1 season before it got canceled. And apparently it's a huge nerd thing. It's called Firefly.
I've heard of it.
It's a sci-fi thing. Kind of what sparked us to talk about nerd stuff tonight.
Okay.
Sci-fi in general.
Yeah.
That's another sci-fi thing I thought of that I enjoyed.
Yes.
It's only 1 season, so if you do come upon it and you're feeling sci-fi-ish as far as outer space, check that out. I remember the other one, sci-fi one that I liked that you told me about, the 100.
Oh yes.
I believe you told me about it when we used to golf at Delhi Par 3 when that existed.
I believe
I remember I went home that night and gave it a go, and I did really good with it. And then I think that like Netflix only had like 2 seasons.
Yes.
And when I caught up, I stopped and I never went back. I don't know if you did.
No,
but...
not all the way. Because my problem is I watch it, and then by the time I'd go to watch the next season, I'd want to rewatch it because I felt like I was kind of lost.
Yes.
So I've rewatched season 1 like probably 3 times. And I've gotten probably almost all the way through season 2, if not all the way through like a couple times.
Okay.
But I'd probably say about season 2 is about where it ended for me.
Yeah.
But I do want to go back and rewatch them all. Like, it is really interesting.
Is it over?
I think it's over now.
Okay.
Or close enough to over. It's either over or down to like the last season or 2, I believe.
Okay. Because it sounds familiar that it's either over or almost over.
Yeah, but no, that was very interesting. Because basically the concept of that was, if people don't know, it's obviously they lived on Earth, but it became inhabitable.
Yeah.
So they went on to this emergency pod, if you will.
Yeah.
And lived in the sky. Well, then they chose 100 people to go see if Earth was like habitable again, basically.
Wasn't it because like they're running out of resources in the pod?
They're running out. In their ship or whatever, they're running out of.
It's a very interesting story.
Resources, so they had to like, all right, who's going to go down and see if this is going to work? And
right, yeah, I thought that the story, like the storyline, was very interesting. That's what captured my attention.
There's another one I want to touch on real quick that there was a movie that I liked, and now there's a show about it, and I haven't watched any of the shows. I forget the damn name, but it's about living on a train. Man, it's a Netflix. It was a movie on Netflix, and there's a show now.
Yeah,
I don't remember. I can't remember the damn name, but it's so the same concept. Basically, the world you can't live in because it's like a freeze or something. Like it's, like ice age, if you will.
Okay, now I do know what you're talking about.
Snowpiercer.
Yeah,
Snowpiercer. What's it called?
I didn't know that's what that was about.
Yeah. So basically, like it's an Ice Age 2. You know what I'm saying? Like the second ice age for the world. So they all live on this train, and the train just keeps going. That's what keeps so their energy inside the train, their electricity is from the friction from going the train. So as long as the train keeps moving, they keep living.
Wow, that sounds way more interesting than what I've seen on the commercials.
Yeah, which I haven't seen any of the show, so I don't know if that's any good or not. But the movie itself, I
feel like I've heard good ratings about the show,
and it's divided up too because you have your poor people and your rich people kind of thing. Yeah, so eventually there's a revolt.
The never-ending story.
Yeah, there's a revolt and they fight kind of scenario,
And actually, you just reminded me of something else. To me, do you consider fantasy like nerdom?
Yeah.
So like kings and queens and all that shit.
Oh, I love King Arthur and shit. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to ask.
I forgot we didn't even touch on that. We could probably do an episode 2 of this type of stuff. Yeah, I love King Arthur and all that type of stuff.
The funny thing is, I'm not really into that, but I got to Game of Thrones.
See, I do want to watch that. I don't know if I watched the 300 movie or not.
Yeah.
That's on Peacock now, so I want to watch. I almost watched that today, and then instead I watched something else. Oh, today I went back and watched the Bourne movies.
Excellent.
Yeah, I went and rewatched all those, which I had seen them all, but I was started to watch 300 and I seen those. I was like, actually, I started last night. I watched the first 2 Bournes last night, and then finished it up this morning.
Yeah, that's an excellent trilogy there.
So it was a cool thing I love trilogies too. That's kind of, I don't know if that's a nerdy thing or not, but I love trilogies.
You can twist it into a nerdy thing.
Back to the Future, stuff like that. But I don't know, I just like trilogies. I almost prefer trilogies more than single movies.
Yes.
I think back in the day I wanted the story to end and like be able just to watch the one movie and it's done, but now I'm like, I want more.
Now, do you prefer trilogies over when they do go more? So like sometimes some franchises will go like 7, 8, 9.
It depends how good they are.
Okay.
I think some of them are good to graciously end at 3.
Yeah. I think Harry Potter, even though I've never seen all of them, is probably a good one that it's good that went beyond 3.
Yeah.
It seems like it.
Yeah. And a lot of them that are based off books, I think, are the ones that can go further.
Yeah.
Well,
like I told you in a previous episode of the podcast, or even this in conversation, was that's what happened with Game of Thrones. It was based off books, and then it caught up to where the book is, because the book's not over. Like the series, I should say. Yeah. It's multiple books. And that's when you can tell the show declined. Yeah. It's like, what the hell?
They didn't have the book to steal from anymore. So.
Right. And which is funny because to circle back, most of the stuff that we talked about, or a lot of it, not wrestling, and actually, ironically, Star Wars falls in wrestling's category. But the rest of it is like based off books or comic books. Star Wars has a ton of books out, but those came so. George Lucas is the one that came up with the Star Wars universe. Yeah, and then different people ran with it and created books. So that's how the Star Wars universe grew. Harry Potter, like you said, I obviously know those are books. Yeah. And from what I understand with that, all the movies, they don't go outside of the books. So that's why there's, how many, 8 movies? I don't know, 9? But it falls into this.
Oh, Harry Potter book?
The Harry Potter.
I think there's 5.
5, okay. I'm way off. I didn't really
like 8, 9.
50, I don't know. It felt like it when we worked at Target.
Yep.
But I feel like a lot of that type of stuff, fantasy, sci-fi, if they have a backbone in some type of written material, whether it's comics to go with,
they
books,
can keep rolling. Yeah, even like Hunger Games, was that 3 of them?
Oh yeah, for Hunger Games.
I think trilogies are probably where it's at. I'd say 3 movies is probably
it's probably like the bread and butter.
Yeah, the bread and butter, but some of them can go further depending on how the story's going.
Yeah,
and that's just kind of how well they're written or
how you try to stretch it.
Yeah. Some of them it gets stretchy, but it's like if you leave enough, then you have enough to write about.
Yeah, and not water it down and make it stupid.
And technically, the Harry Potter, the last one's one movie, but it's a part 1 and part 2.
Oh yeah,
kind of like the same with Hunger Games. Technically, it's part part 1 and part 2 type thing.
Yeah, you were
I
telling
think
me
there might be
that
4 of
recently.
those. I think, but the last one's like 2 or something. I don't know.
But it's based off 3 books.
I think so.
I think so,
I think it's
too.
3 books, but like 4 movies, or something
Right.
like that, or like say with Harry Potter's like 4 books or 5 movies or whatever.
That's where the Hollywood part
Yeah,
comes
they
in,
add
though.
enough storyline in to stretch it.
Right.
But I do. Yeah, I enjoy trilogies now. I just feel like there's something to be said about them.
Yeah.
Because sometimes single movies just leave you like, man, I wish there was more to that.
Yeah,
but I've said that in the
does.
past too. Talking about movies, is I wish that they're like, I like long movies too, though.
That's why I know we talk about like mob movies are really good for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like 3, 4, 5 hours long.
Yeah, like you don't necessarily need sequels if you have a long ass movie that.
Even though The Godfather did it.
Yeah, but I was thinking more like
Godfather 3 is a bad one. I've never
Yeah.
even seen Godfather 3 all the way through.
I have, but
Okay.
also oddly enough, The Godfather's like I'm not into that one as much as the others.
Me neither.
Like I
Me
know that's
neither.
supposed to be like the best one, but I was more Scarface isn't necessarily mob, but Scarface type.
Scarface,
Or like
Goodfellas.
Casino, Goodfellas.
Casino.
Like I think there's other mob movies or gangster type movies that are better.
I agree. Like I respect The Godfather.
Yeah.
And there's scenes of The Godfather I really like, but the movie's so long.
Yes.
Like the very first Godfather, the wedding scene's like 45 minutes long, and it's the opening scene.
Yeah.
I mean, but have you ever seen Bronx Tale, by the way? I know I've asked you before.
Man, I can't remember.
That one's a good one.
Because I think you asked me that and I can never remember if I've seen it.
Because that's
Who's in that one?
That's not a popular one. Robert De Niro plays in it, but he's the dad of the kid trying to keep him out of the mafia.
I feel like I have, but
It's
I don't
good.
know. I'm sure I have. I just can't.
I'm sure you have to, but
Yeah.
that's a good one.
But I don't know if that's nerdy either, but mob movies are one of my nerdy things.
Oh, if it is nerdy, then call me freaking
Yeah.
the king nerd. I love the mafia stuff.
Yeah.
There's mob movies, and then even I guess you can circle to the reading part is nerdy, supposedly.
Yeah.
When I first started getting into the mafia beyond the movies, I got a book that's like this thick, and if you can't see it if you're listening, it's like
The
5
dick-
inches thick. It's like
Yeah.
it's huge, and all it was the history of the mafia in New York alone,
Yeah.
and that's how I learned a lot about like the different crime families and.
Yeah, because I watch a lot of documentaries as well.
Yes, and there's some good ones on that too with the mafia. Mm-hmm. Like I'm sure you saw then how like Al Capone, he's known to be like this huge mobster, big tough guy from the Chicago mob. He's from Brooklyn, and he was such a pansy basically that they kicked him out in New York, and so he wasn't even a tough guy really in New York. He was a nobody in New York, and he goes to Chicago and ends up being one of the nation's biggest mob bosses. That's crazy to me. Mm-hmm. And then like New York is so big of a city that they have 5 mob families, and every other major city in the country that has the mafia only has 1 represented.
Yeah.
It's like Buffalo, Philly, Cleveland, Chicago. Those are all the New Orleans, Tampa. Those are all the big mob cities back in the day. And then like you mentioned Casino, that's based off a true story where the mobs saw an opportunity to make more money out in the desert.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's do that.
Let's take it over.
And they send them out to the desert, and that's how the Las Vegas Strip, that was built off the mafia.
Yeah.
And they also said, like, especially in its heyday, like in the 70s, the mafia itself was making more money than, like, all these, like, big oil companies and bank companies in the country combined.
Oh, yeah.
There's just so much.
I mean, that's why the
billions.
government finally shut them down, because they weren't getting their part.
Yeah, and they were smart about it, too, though, the mob. Before they came up with RICO, the bosses were insulated, where that's why they had their henchmen and layers of, like rankings, if you will.
Like the degrees of separation.
Yeah, they got the money, but they didn't do any of the dirty work, so they couldn't get arrested.
Yeah.
And so they figure out, some lawyer genius is like, actually,
Yeah, the RICO statute.
RICO proves that it's a organized crime,
and,
and then therefore indirectly they are in charge of the crimes, even though they're not physically doing it.
Yeah, they're calling the orders, so it's their fault.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then one last thing with the mob thing, because I won't go on forever with this.
Yeah, we're going to do a podcast on that.
But I love, even though obviously it's bad, I'm not saying like I love what happened, but I love how ballsy, I should say, the mafia got like in the 70s and 80s when John Gotti decided that he wanted to be boss and had his boss killed right at rush hour in front of a famous steakhouse in Manhattan right before Christmas. Just like I said, I don't condone the violence, but the romanticism of the mafia, the story of the mafia, like that is wild to me. That's what lured me in, was how they had these rules, but then they also do these like Wild West stuff.
Yeah.
So
Organized chaos, basically.
Yeah, and like I said, I can go on forever.
No, we'll do a pod on mob movies for sure.
But
I guess we're about to wrap up.
Yeah,
we're kind of getting towards that 60-minute mark. So
yeah, I guess before we end, Windows or Apple?
Apple.
All right, that's our nerdum.
All right. See you next time. All right, we're done.
All right, bye.